Hi, my name is Dean Clune with Gallagher. And COVID-19 concerns are bringing with it stress. It's bringing unknown and known concerns that we thought we'd get together as a group of experts in different areas to talk to you about how you can help your employees face those concerns and what you can do in your role to help your employees come to work engaged. So Kathleen, if you could step back as an organizational well-being specialist, and what are the larger concerns? What are the bigger picture things that aren't so obvious maybe?
Thanks, Dean. So I think that there are so many things to be considering right now, but it is definitely time for us to be actively planning, dusting off those business continuity plans, and really getting ready to activate. And if you're an organization that doesn't have one, it's really time to build one. I think that as we think about the activation of those plans, it's really important to think about it through the lens of the employee. So we really want to be thinking about the employee's perspective on how might this concern impact employees physically, and maybe even more importantly, how is it going to impact them emotionally? The stress associated with the fear of the unknown is real. So employees are scared, and the stress associated with thinking about, what am I going to do if my kid's school closes? What am I going to do if daycare closes? What am I going to do if I can't go to work, or if work, if work shuts down? How am I going to pay my bills? So and even kind of the instability in the market right now. So the market's fluctuating, the financial stability of organizations is fluctuating. We could potentially be looking at changes in staff, reductions in staff. So added concern around that financial wellness around, am I going to have a job or am I not going to have a job? And how am I going to pay my bills and support my family? So then I think we really need to think about, this is kind of a leadership issue or a leadership opportunity. It's really important for leaders to think about the message to their employees, because that message to the employees, the sincerity, the authenticity, the timeliness and the transparency of those messages is going to influence how employees within the organization respond and hopefully reduce some of the stress that they have. So it's never been more critical to really jump on that.
Yeah, I was thinking as you were talking, if there is no communication, they go straight to some of the things you talked about, which is the worst case scenario. And we don't really know. We don't have a crystal ball. So it does seem like communication and communicating often is going to be really critical in everything, Sam. So your role as a communication specialist, what can you talk to us about that we need to be thinking about, our clients need to be thinking about for their employees?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so like with any change that's happening within the business, one of the most important things to be doing is opening that conversation, that dialogue with employees, helping them understand how it impacts them and what you're going to be doing as an employer to support them. So the worst thing you can be doing is staying silent in a situation like this. That brings with it fear, the rumour mill, and people are drawing to unnecessary conclusions. So there's really two tracks of communication that you should be thinking about. You have your policies and business continuity planning, so communicating any changes, making sure they understand where they need to go for information and support. And even if you haven't got as far as making those plans, update them and let them know what you're working on behind the scenes. And then you have the emotional side. As Kathleen was saying, people are going to be thinking about their personal situation, their families, their children, income issues that they might impact on them. So just respond to them, empathize with them as an employer, and let them know that you know how they're feeling. Be honest with them, and make sure that they know where they can go for support and conversations around that. And I think more than ever before, we have to be aware of what's going on in the media as a business. If there's a big story breaking around schools closing or home working, then think about how you can respond to that as an employer and make that relevant to the employees within your organisation. And whatever you're doing, just make sure your messages are tying back to your values within the organisation. So whether you are factual, you're humorous, you're emotional, make sure you're reflecting that and it embodies how you support your employees generally.
Wow, that's great. I was thinking, so if you care but they don't know that you care, they don't think you care, right? So that's I think critical when we think about kind of this next topic in terms of, do we have flexibility in terms of what we have in writing? Right? In HR, Scott, and your expertise, you think about everything needs to be in writing, kind of buttoned up, and you follow the rules. This seems like in a fluid time, you may want to have some flexibility. Would you agree with that?
Dean, that's spot on. A lot of our clients are calling us asking for help in the policy and procedure area because this is new, this is developing, it's very fluid. companies and their business or emergency response plans, it's typically been about, preparedness, right? And it's been about how are we going to deal with the actual issues. And this being, a COVID, potential concern, the idea is also turning to prevention. So slowing down travel bans. If people get involuntarily quarantined while traveling for business or are exposed while traveling for business, what are some of the policy implications? Are they going to be paid sick time? Are they going to be, full salary continuation while they're out? If they have to care for sick children or sick family members, FMLA concerns and things like that. So there's a variety of policy considerations that are going on. But most organizations that we're talking to are grappling with the fact that the policy has to fit everybody in all the circumstances, but they're looking for flexibility because essentially, in a tight labor market, you don't want to lose any employees. You're not trying to drive your employees away by being, too rigid and not dealing with it. But, this is a concern that's facing every employee, every family member, and quite frankly, all members of leadership. They're all dealing with their families and health concerns. So it's a very fluid and changing situation. Most times employers are erring on the side of trying to be compassionate and considerate, but obviously they have to deal with the positive tension of maintaining the business operations as well. But flexibility is key, and trying to be consistent. And if you make changes in your policy, we're urging that folks document those changes to make sure they don't get caught after the fact with allegations of not being consistent and unfair application. So,
Scott, thank you for kind of pointing out some things around flexibility in an area that typically we don't think of having flexibility. So make sure that you're making decisions in a committee, documenting those decisions, but making sure that we're flexible in this really complex time. So you got me thinking about those employers that have employees across the globe, right? So that's where Leanne comes in, our multinational leader. Leanne, can you share with us just a few things that our clients need to start thinking about?
Absolutely, Dean. So when employers are in a globally mobile workforce, they're focused on employees not only in the local countries, but then they have the employees that are traveling around. So this is an imperative time for the global benefits, HR, mobility teams, and risk management to come together and make sure that their process, which all of those policies and procedures are operating together. So we're finding employers taking a closer look at gaps in coverage, potentially that are going to impact their employees that are on travel, and tightening those things up. They want to make sure that if they need to get their employees out of a particular situation, the evac and travel assistance is set up appropriately. And then as far as the medical coverage, if an employee is impacted at the local level, how can they get to the hospitals and seek the care that they want? So we're seeing a lot more of our employers take a global approach and tighten up those policies at this time, especially during this crisis.
At this time, when you're dealing with a fluid situation with complex issues, you can see that at Gallagher, we have a wide range of expertise to help you deal with it. So reach out to your Gallagher consultant, and we'll look forward to talking to you soon.